Grace Auburn family, welcome back to the Grace Auburn Church podcast. My name is Lee, and I serve as executive pastor of the church and host of the Grace Auburn podcast. Today, I'm joined by Lainey Moore and Kinsey Bartlett. Welcome, ladies. Glad y'all are here on the podcast with me.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
All right, so we're continuing conversations with our members who are involved in ministries or organizations that aren't maybe outwardly Christian ministries, but that have a very real tact on how to love people as Jesus in the marketplace. The two of you are deeply involved with Onward Campus Ministries on staff and as a student, and possibly on staff. I don't know what you're thinking about doing next, Lainey, but I do. Onward has an incredibly rich history, the people of Onward here in the Auburn and Opelika area. Before we talk about Onward, though, and talk about how the Lord is using it on campus amidst college students and all that God is doing in and through partnerships in Japan, I'd love for you two to share your journey into Grace Auburn. So, Kinsey, we're going to start with you. I'd love for you to share how you and your family came to Grace Auburn, how you got involved here, and then, Lainey, you'll go next.
Perfect, yes. So Hunter and I started coming to Grace Auburn in 2021, right after we got married. When we were in college, dating, engaged, we didn't know if we'd be staying in Auburn or not post-grad, just strictly because of his job. We were really hoping we got to stay in Auburn, and we both went to different churches at that time until we got married. So then we got married, found out we were staying in Auburn, and we just started trying some churches in the area, and we landed on Grace. And we just knew that at Grace we would be shepherded and led well by leaders that were really rooted in Scripture and just in truth that we believed in. And then there were so many other things in the church that drew us in, like the multi-generational community groups. And community was one thing we were really looking for, just post-grad and navigating newly married life and wanting people who would really hold us accountable and point us to the Lord and just remind us of truth. And so Grace was really the answer to so many prayers and like above and beyond what we could imagine.
I love that.
Yeah, it's amazing.
All right, Lainey, I don't know how conversations in your home went with you coming into Grace Auburn. Your whole family joined several years back. Tell us that story.
Yeah, so my family moved to Auburn in 2020, and my dad and Matt have been best friends since third grade. So we obviously knew about Grace before we moved to Auburn, and Matt had told us, like, don't feel pressured, like you have to come to church here. And I think Grace was probably the first church that we visited once we moved, and immediately my whole family was like, yes, like we want to be here. We visited maybe one or two others, and we were all like, no, like we want to be at Grace. And just like what Kinsey said too, one thing I just love about Grace is how much like it's just Scripture, like Scripture led. Like Matt is humble. All the pastors are so humble in the way they preach and teach and guide this church, and so it's been really awesome just to be a part of like a church family that just so deeply loves the Lord and leads their church in that way.
Well, thanks for that encouragement, both of you. I love hearing how people find Grace Auburn, and I love hearing why the Lord lands them here. And so as a testimony to, I think a decision that we make when we begin something is like, hey, this is either going to be about us or it's going to be about him. And turns out it can't be both. You have to choose what platform you're going to build. And we've chosen to just say Jesus over and over and over and over again. So it does my heart good to know that that's how you guys experienced it on the way in, whether in high school at the time or recently married, coming in, starting your own family. All right, let's talk about Onward. Kinsey, I'd love for you to just explain what is Onward Campus Ministry, what is the goal, the mission. That may lead me to a whole host of questions. And then specifically within that, what is your role? Lainey, we'll talk about your involvement with Onward as well and your role. But let's just start with what is Onward?
Yes, so Onward is a college ministry for Auburn University. What we believe is informing gospel-centered relationships with college students to just really pour into their lives and then them pour into other people's lives. So we really focus on deep relationships and one-on-one relationships. And just as a staff, we've seen how college is the most formative time in a young person's life, and just the decisions they start to make in college pour over to how they live for the rest of their life. So we just try to meet them in that spot where they're at and just share the gospel with them and just form relationships over their 4 years of college.
All right, what's your role?
Yes. So I've had many roles over the years. This is my 5th year on staff, and now I'm just part-time since I've had Sarah Jane this past year. But I started new staff. I was women's director, senior staff. I've done many things over the many years.
Many years. Okay. All right, Lainey, tell us about your experience with Onward.
Yeah, so when I transferred to Auburn second semester, my freshman year, one of my friends went to Onward and just invited me to come with her one Tuesday. So I went, and little did I know, like, Onward would have the biggest impact on my life and my walk with Christ throughout college. So been involved since freshman year, been on mission trips with Onward, went to Greek Classic after my freshman year, which really, I would say, played such a huge impact in my life and how I was walking with the Lord. Since then, I have joined leadership, and that has been so incredible, and being able to not only learn from staff and just the way it looks like to live your life for Christ in college and how to minister and to others, but also be able to lead Bible studies and pour into other people the way that Onward has poured into me has been so awesome.
All right, when you say leadership, that's student leadership.
Yes.
That's, I guess, to put into context, we would probably call them interns at Grace Auburn. Specifically within leadership, you mentioned leading Bible studies. Is it really as much about getting up close and personal with the staff and learning and growing from them as it is? What all does that involve?
Yeah, so on leadership, you have a mentor that you meet with, someone on staff that you meet with to do discipleship. Then we have leadership meetings every Monday. Yeah, Monday at 4. Just a time to come together and have Bible study, talk about how the Lord is working in our lives and our campus ministry that we're doing with younger students. And then also to lead a Bible study to pour into students the way that staff is poured into us.
Yeah. When my wife and I moved back from China in 2008, we landed here, and there were 2 people that I met very quickly that were incredibly formative for us in campus ministry, that would turn out to be for the next 12 years. One was Matt Dean, and the other was Bill Bolt. And the 2 of them had such a deeply profound impact in my life that I think still reverberates into how our staff operates. It still reverberates into the ministry of this entire church. I think if you as a college student, just if your first experience with anyone preaching the gospel is at Onward, and then you came to Grace Auburn, it's not very different in terms of the message that's being preached, maybe the look and feel of the the people in the room. But I love that there's that much consistency when we think about strategic partnerships. Onward obviously is one of our most consistent, long-standing. Bill has been such a good friend to Matt and I for many decades now. I saw John Saster come out of college and into ministry. And so it has really done my heart good to see the way the Lord has continued to faithfully go before Onward Campus Ministries and continue to provide really as things have changed and moved and so many things have changed in this community, but the presence of Onward continues to be a staple, and I love that so much. Kenzie, tell us about a typical week. Like if someone has never heard of Onward, doesn't have a clue, like when you say campus ministry, what does that even mean? Like things maybe when you live in this town, especially when you work with college students or your church has as many college students as ours does, maybe the idea of campus ministry is kind of foreign or unique. Tell us about the ministry throughout the year. Maybe some highlights, some high points, a typical week. We'll just kind of see how that goes.
Yes. So really the structure of our ministry is based off of what we call the 3 Ps. It's purpose, presence, and persistence. And purpose just being how, like I said earlier, college is such a formative point in a young person's life. And so we just choose to focus on the relational depth. So a lot of that does look like face-to-face meetings with college students weekly. For girls, it looks like a lot of walks or a lot of coffee dates. For guys, it's mostly meals. Some of the guys have started going on walks, but
it's awesome. I see them all around campus.
I like it.
Yes. So we really focus just on that for the purpose, and then presence, just being with them, and persistence as well. Bill gets asked the question a lot like, how is Onward an effective ministry
Mm-hmm.
and how's it doing? And his answer is always, you'll need to ask me in 20 years.
Yeah, that's right.
And if these college students are still walking with the Lord
Yes.
and they're leading other people to the Lord, then I'll be able to answer it for you.
Yes.
And so much of it, our week is based off of those 3 points. And then just a normal week, there's a lot of staff things, like we have staff prayer, staff meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Bill and John really pour into our staff team well.
Yeah.
And then we have leadership meetings on Mondays, which is what Lainey was talking about, in a time where we're really training students that are already walking with the Lord to also go share the gospel and be disciples, because the Onward staff team isn't that big
Right.
for all of Auburn University.
Right.
So we do that on Tuesday nights. We have a weekly meeting in Langdon Hall where one of the guys will share a talk. There's worship, there's reflection questions, and that's just open to anyone. So that's probably our biggest way for students to get involved. But then there's other little things throughout the week and throughout the year, like fall retreat, our beach trip, Greek Classic, spring break trips, prayer week. We have small groups that meet weekly, led by the staff team and the leadership teams. There's lots of different outlets for students to get involved. And so that's kind of a normal week, but the majority of that time for staff is meeting one-on-one with a student, and then those things are sprinkled in.
Well, that's a good way to segue, Lainey, into your experience of Onward staff. What was it like? Well, maybe dive a little bit deeper into what you already mentioned of transferring to Auburn, moving back to a town your family had moved to what was that experience like for you? How have you experienced maybe Jesus through those leaders? What has that meant to you?
Yeah, I think it really started, like I said, with Greek Classic, and just I kind of went not really knowing very many people, which is very out of my comfort zone, and like only the Lord that led me to go there. And just realizing like how much these people like do truly love the Lord, and like how much, like you said, like Bill like wants us to know the Lord, and he says over and over again, like, the way you're living in college is most likely the way you're going to be living the rest of your life. And that really was like, wow, yeah, like how am I living for the Lord now? And like, what is that going to look like in 5-10 years from now for me? So then after Greek Classic, sophomore year, got involved in a Bible study with all the Greek Classic girls that went, which was led by staff, which was so awesome. Just another great community outlet for me. And then junior year, I joined leadership, and yeah, it's been so awesome just to, I meet with a girl on staff, Emma Schaffner, which has been so great, and just being able to have an intentional time to meet with somebody, and just the importance of confession and being held accountable, and having someone that I know deeply loves the Lord and wants to pour into me, not because it's her job, but because she wants to, and she loves relationships, and building those relationships centered around Christ, which has been really awesome. And then again, leadership has provided a whole nother community for me of people that I know are deeply walking with the Lord and love the Lord. And so it's been really cool just to see the way everyone on staff and leadership pours into one another, and like truly deeply cares for everybody and their walk with the Lord, and leading you to know and love Christ more each day.
I don't know who first said that to Bill, or if Bill came up with "Ask me in 20 years," but Bill's been saying that for as long as I've known him, and
For well over
so
20
his
years.
persistence, to use your word, in faithfully reminding, especially supporters of Onward, friends who have gone before and are now looking back at their time with Onward. He now has the ability and the privilege of seeing where and how people have continued to faithfully follow the Lord, where there are those who have walked away from the Lord. And he has been such a steadfast presence in my life to ask that same question of our college students here, and to ask, hey, what you do now will, yes, set the trajectory for the rest of your life, but you are developing habits and rhythms and valuing the importance of church membership and connection in the community and doing all that we do. And there's so much consistency between Onward and Grace Auburn in that. It's really, really, really sweet. As is y'all's connection with Japan. So I want to think about Japan in a sense that so much of what Onward does throughout the year is discipling college students through relationships. And then this connection in Japan really being an opportunity or an avenue to take what has been learned here and go and do it there. And for some, that might lead to a long-term commitment to move overseas. For others, it might be, Lainey, you just having experienced this, having gone on a trip and come back, really asking the question, how does this stir up my faith here and now? But let's give a little bit of an overview of how the Lord has done what he's done between Onward and Bread of Life in Japan. And then we'll kind of talk about your experience specifically in just a moment. But can you give us an overview of what that experience has been like and that ministry connection?
Yes. So clearly Onward has a heart for college students, but also for the nations. And so I feel like from the beginning, going and making disciples of the nations was something that was on Bill's heart.
Yeah.
And so right from the beginning of Onward as a staff team, we just started praying because we knew we wanted to go somewhere, but we didn't know where that would be.
Sure.
And so every single Monday morning at 9 a.m., our staff team met and we just prayed. And really for like 2 or 3 years, that was all we could do because it was post-COVID and there wasn't much happening. And then just after a lot of different meetings, connections, events, we were able to meet with the pastors of Bread of Life in Japan. So Bill and John, when the borders opened in like 2022, they were able to go back over to Japan and meet with them. And our staff team had been praying for 3 specific things: a church to partner with over there, a university to do college ministry at, and a place for a team to live. And in the 4 days they were over there, the Lord answered all of those prayers.
Yes.
It was amazing. And so then they came back from that. And in the summer of 2023 is when we sent our first summer team over there for 6 weeks, which is what Lainey just did. And ever since then, it's just continued to grow, and now we have a stint team, which is a year-long team, leaving in August to go.
Nice.
So yeah, it's really great.
How many people are going on stint?
4 guys.
4 guys.
Yes.
Okay. Walk us through what a day in the life of being a part of Onward in Japan was like for you.
Yes, yeah. So what's really special about Bread of Life is they're a 5-minute walk from Waseda, which is the university over there that we're really focusing on doing ministry with, which was really such a blessing, being able to just be that close. Like Kinsey said, like having a church and a university and somewhere to live, like, yeah, it's really awesome. But the first 2 weeks, we just went to campus and walked up to people and made friends. And that was terrifying. I kept trying to ask people, like, what do we do there before we left? And they're like, you just go. And I'm like, okay, that's awesome. And that really is what it is.
Yeah.
Like, you are really just going. And the first day we went and walked up to some girls in the cafeteria and we're like, I don't know if they speak English or if they're going to want to talk to me. But we're like, hey, can we sit with you? And just being able to look back at the end of the trip now and just see like how faithful the Lord was in each of those friendships. Like one of the girls I met on the first day was my best friend by the end of the trip, which was so awesome. But yeah, each day really was just meeting with friends, hanging out, going to eat or go to karaoke or do something fun around town. By the end of the trip, we were doing lunches and Bible study at the church 2 or 3 days a week, which was so awesome and such a great opportunity to get students involved in the church and a connection with staff, and just to help them feel comfortable in a church, because so many have never been to a church or have even heard of Christianity before, which is just so crazy. So yeah, really each day was kind of just hanging out with your friends. I mean, what it's like to do life in Auburn is we're just doing it over there with our friends in Japan, which is so awesome.
Is there something you want to add?
Well, I was just going to say how much of a blessing Bread of Life is too, because I feel like the point of us going over there wasn't to start an Onward, but was to assist them in their college ministry. Yeah. And it's so cool to have that connection for when y'all leave and the list of students that they're able to give to the Bread of Life staff to continue to meet with. So it's really just the coolest ministry connection.
I love that.
Even today, we were talking to the pastors' wives, and she had pictures and a list of our students that we had met that came back to Bible study today at church, which is just really encouraging to know that they are left in such good hands and that they are excited about learning more about God
Yeah.
and being in the church and stuff, even without us being there.
Yeah, I can remember specifically conversations with Bill and John wanting so much to begin with the local church, knowing this was the heart of what they wanted to accomplish from the very beginning of connecting college students with a local Bible-believing preaching church. And it's been our joy watching from the outside looking in as partners of Onwards to say, that's exactly what God is doing. And it's so good for us to know that our college students, our members, that there's so much continuity between that there and what God is doing on campus here.
Yes.
And it really is a ton of fun
Yeah.
to be a part of, even just from our very limited part of that. All right, I'd love to kind of big picture now, kind of zoom out. All the things day in, day out, week in, week out with college students here, relationship building, seeing people consider the way of the world and the way of Jesus and choose Jesus, and your deep relational equity with those people being the kind of pool you draw from as you're making those statements and making all of those connections with people, that having an outward expression, doing much of the very same thing in Japan, seeing God work the same there as he does here through relationships and through friendships and through the local church. I'd love to know, this is kind of big picture and kind of your chance to speak directly to the members of Grace Auburn, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you want your church family to know? Like, as you think about, like, if someone were asking, hey, what is God doing through Onward, and why should I pray for you? Like, right, in terms of, your ministry specifically on campus. When it comes to our strategic partnership with Onward, what would you want your church family to know from your experience side of it? Not necessarily from like the pastors saying, yes, it's a good thing, but your actual experience. And that could be a story, that could be more stories, that could be really anything you want to share with the members of Grace Auburn.
Yeah, I think just for me, when I was a college student, seeing these young adults and families post-grad that were still walking faithfully with God and sharing the gospel was just such a good example for me to see, because I had Onward in college, but graduating did seem a little daunting.
Yeah.
And I think that's why Onward emphasizes church membership so much, because you're only in college for 4 years.
Right.
And then when you graduate and there's no more college ministries, that is the point of a church, and just being involved in a body of believers. So I feel like if anything, for families now and young adults now in Auburn, it really is such a unique opportunity to live in a college town. And you're around college students so much, and they really are watching everything. And so I think just being intentional, even if it's in a short time that you have with them, meeting them in the greeting time in a service.
Yeah.
Or if you're like out at a restaurant, and just being very intentional with that time so they can see how you're still faithfully living, following Christ.
That's good.
Just like having examples of that was super helpful for me.
That's
and
good.
Still is.
That's good.
I would echo all of that. Again, for me, I'm still in college, so it is awesome to see just the way that staff really do truly care about the students. And again, like Bill said, like they care about where you are in 10 and 20 years. Like they're not just pouring into you right now while you're in college, and then once you leave, it's okay, bye. Like that was great. They really do care about you, and really pouring into who you will be.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that Grace obviously is very passionate about is go and make disciples of all nations and praying for unreached people groups. And I didn't even realize, like, Japan is the second largest unreached people group, and that it's just crazy. And I really have been convicted of how much I'm not even spending time praying and praying for those people in these nations. And like, I don't know, even if all it is that you're doing is praying for these people. I mean, we make an effort to do it each week in church, but there's so much power in prayer, and that so much, I don't know, it just like breaks my heart being over there and seeing these people that don't know Jesus and have never heard his name before, and like really just makes me excited and like want to tell everyone about Jesus. And really just to be an encouragement no matter where you are, if you're in Japan or somewhere else or in Auburn, like just to go out and make disciples.
Yeah.
I feel like prayer, clearly. Like, that is the
Yeah.
easiest way to partner with Onward and support Onward.
Yeah.
And your sermon from this past Sunday, just talking about spiritual maturity, stuck with me a lot. And just praying that these college students would become who Jesus wants them to become, and
Yeah.
that would be the desire that they have. And so in that, there's so many prayer requests for just salvation for college students, that they would get a vision for holiness, for provision for the Onward staff, and getting into these different areas on campus, that we would have favor with the students. So prayer is clearly the easiest and simplest way that you can join in supporting Onward every single day.
Are there specific, I think our consistent relationship with not only the members of our church who are involved with Onward, but its leadership, its staff, knowing how much we love what God is doing in and through that. I would make the argument that we will be a people that prays for Onward ongoingly, both corporately and individually. Are there other things? I mean, you mentioned support for staff. Are there specific needs, things you guys want to point to, things you want to highlight, ways in which, if you had a moment with someone that was like, hey, what do you need? Is there something specific that you want to highlight? Obviously, we'll link in the show notes to Onward's website. I know they can learn about everybody that's on staff and, ways to support them specifically. But really, praying for Bread of Life, right?
Yeah.
What else do you guys think of when you think of the needs of Onward, to invite our members into prayer, really for the Lord to do what he wants to do on campus? Is there anything else specifically, kind of as we wrap this up?
I feel like on the website would be the best way to get connected with that, because throughout the year, there's like many different things that you can give to and specifically pray for. And it's all linked there, whether it is like sending a college student to Greek Classic or on a mission trip if they can't financially support that on their own, or supporting staff, or sending these 4 guys to Japan for a full year. Like, that requires a lot.
Yeah.
And so the website is definitely the best way to get connected.
I also would say even just like being led to give to Bread of Life Church is something that, being over there, like, Bread of Life does everything for everybody every day, all day.
Right.
And they are pouring everything that they have into this church, these pastors and their wives. And just, we all were talking about it by the end of the trip, and just being like, wow, like, we need to be more intentional about, one, not only giving to our church at home, but also what it looks like, what it would look like to give to Bread of Life, or finding ways to be able to support them and be able to help provide for them financially through prayer, whatever that is, and what that may look like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
All right. Well, we'll put all that. We'll put Bread of Life's website as well in the show notes. I can't tell you guys how thankful we are for you as members of this church, as those who continue to share the good news of Jesus with a freshman on Auburn's campus, or a freshman there with Bread of Life and their campus ministry as well. Thank you so much for being here today. This has been a lot of fun. You guys are great.
We're thankful for y'all.
Yes.
On behalf of the Grace Auburn Church family, thank you for listening to the Grace Auburn Church podcast. If you'd like more information about partnering with us and our mission, or ways that you can get connected, please go to our website, graceauburn.church.